It is 4:01 on December 22nd. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. I'll do roll call. Planning Commission members: Joey Edwards.
Here.
Steve Stevens, I think can't be here. Jason Rufo.
Here.
David Jurich. Solomon.
Yeah.
And
David,
then,
you're muted.
and then Ryan Hill.
I am here.
Okay, great. Thank you. County Commissioners, Commissioner Tharp.
Yeah.
Commissioner Lee. Commissioner Bullock.
Here.
Okay.
Here.
Any changes or additions to the agenda? Okay, we have minutes to approve September 8th, November 24th, and December 8th. They were sent out with the staff packet. Did everybody have a chance to review those?
Can I approve them both at one time?
Yep.
Edwards moves to approve previous minutes.
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hey.
Any updates from staff tonight?
Ann is online, with us tonight, just to point that out. At the moment, I was saying we don't have anything scheduled in January, so for January 12th, we don't have time to notice anything, so I'm pretty confident that we won't have a hearing that night. We'll probably need to follow up and see if there's any study session that we need, but we haven't identified that, so, and then the later one in January, we'll keep you posted on that.
Okay.
So, Ann, is there anything you wanna add? Yeah.
We can't hear you.
Now we can.
Oh, you
Oh, no, it's like, every third sound.
Okay, I was just going to mention that I do think we're gonna want a work session on commercial lodging in January. And we are fully seated with only one alternate position available on the Planning Commission. So that vacancy has been advertised on the website. So if you have any interested community members that are a resident of Lake County, please send them our direction. But we are fully seated with just one vacancy to start the new year off. Our meeting in January, we'll be looking to do a work session on commercial lodging as well as elect officers for 2026. I think the only other thing that I wanted to mention, and I think that Melissa's probably brought for your signature, is we do need to capture written signatures on your recommendation to the Board of Commissioners on last.
We lost
Not
you
hearing
again.
you again.
And you might turn your video off and we'll be able to hear you probably.
No.
Now we have no idea if you're
That
talking.
didn't work.
No luck.
Now we can't lip read.
Okay.
No luck.
That didn't work, Ann.
But we
Yeah.
did get the majority of what you said, and we do have, Melissa did bring the resolution here for us to sign, so I think we got that. If there's anything additional you need, just maybe shoot us a text or something and we can read it. Okay.
Okay.
Alright, we'll move us down to new business. We have file 25-41 and 48, which is the Sugarloaf Mountain Ranch Backcountry CUP and Site Plan. The Lake County Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners will now conduct a joint public hearing. This statement I'm reading shall be incorporated into and made part of the record on these proceedings. The Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners have jurisdiction to conduct a joint public hearing on a conditional use permit application under section 3.6.1 of the Lake County Land Development Code. And simultaneously, the Planning Commission will open the site plan review pursuant to section 5.2.27.1. The purpose of this hearing is to consider whether the conditional use permit application and the site plan review should be approved. In considering that matter, the Commission will address the approval criteria set forth in sections 3.6.1.f and 5.2.27.1d of the Lake County Land Development Code. The procedure to be followed in this hearing will be: 1, members of the Commission and the Board will disclose any ex parte communications. 2, county staff will make an initial presentation. 3, the applicant may then make their presentation. 4, after that, any other persons either supporting or opposing the application may present evidence. 5, supporting and opposing witnesses may be questioned by the commission and the board. Once questioning is concluded, no further questioning is permitted unless granted by the chair. 6, the applicant may then make any rebuttal evidence. The parties and witnesses are asked not to submit redundant, irrelevant, or cumulative evidence. If someone has already made the point that you wish to make, please simply say so. The chair will also require that all comments be made to the planning commission and the board, and that there be no dialogue between the applicant and members of the audience. At the conclusion of the evidentiary portion of the hearing, the chair will entertain a motion to close the evidentiary portion of the hearing, and the commission will discuss and weigh the evidence. Then there will be a motion to close the discussion phase of the joint public hearing. The Board of County Commissioners will then leave the meeting, and the chair of the Planning Commission will entertain a motion on the application. The motion may take the form of one of the following recommendations. 1, approve the application with no conditions. 2, approve the application with recommended conditions. 3, approve the application with newly identified conditions. Or 4, deny the application. The planning director shall make a record of any substantial discussion on the motion and include that in the record with the recommendation of the commission. The commission's recommendation will be in the form of a statement of motion. Are there any objections to the jurisdiction of the commission or to the form or substance of these proceedings? Hearing none, I'll now ask each planning commissioner and member, and then each county commissioner if you've had any ex parte communications to disclose, and if so, please disclose them now. Joey Edwards?
None.
Jason Marufo?
I had a question from someone in the public, but I can't remember which file it was regarding. But it doesn't sound familiar for this particular one, so I'm gonna say no. But if it sounds familiar, can I bring it up at that time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that,
I'm seeing lots of heads nod yes.
okay, alright, so no for now.
David George?
No.
Okay, Ryan Hill?
No.
Okay, Heather Lynn, no. Commissioner Tharp?
None.
Commissioner Lee?
None.
Commissioner Bullock?
None.
Okay, staff, can you start your presentation?
Thank you. So the applicant is here tonight, he's online, so I will make a presentation. Yeah, so. And then he'll be available to make any comments or answer any questions. So, the first one, and these are both similar in that they're CUPs with site plans, because they're in the backcountry. So, can go forward, yeah, okay. So the applicant is Tim Costello, and he has an application on 2 mining claims that are about 20.6 acres in size, but it's embedded within 875 acres. So he's got a large land holding up in this area. The location is, you can see the address, but that's what you see on the right-hand side of that screen is Turquoise Lake. So he's on the west side of Turquoise Lake. The property is zoned backcountry, and what we have is a kind of a unique situation. But it's a conditional use for basic utility, and we'll go into that a little bit, so you can go forward. The site plan is for 3 agricultural structures. You kind of see 4 circles, but the dotted ones are where the 3 structures will be located in the future. It's part of the Colorado State Forest Service agricultural program. And so this has a lot to do with fire mitigation and forest health. And so the purpose of the application are for these structures to help manage that program over time. So the shops are to hold vehicles. There is a break room and a bathroom that are proposed in one of the sites, the 70 by 70 foot structure that you can see there. That's the likely one to be built first. And again, it's to get, if you look on Google Earth right now, there's equipment sitting out in the open, and the idea is to get that under a roof. There are no known geologic or mining hazards. There's evidence that a shaft got closed properly through the division of mining. So that was remediated. You can go to the next. our zoning administrator, which is Ann Schneider, made an interpretation, because this is kind of a unique situation. But based upon the fact that this is really a health and safety issue for our natural environment, we're considering this sort of a basic utility under our zoning. And so that requires a conditional use permit. So that's how we got here. We can move forward. So the approval criteria for the CUP this should be very familiar to all of you, but consistency with our comp plan. I won't read all of these, you got to read the staff report, but again, this is really about our natural environment, our forest health and good maintenance for our fire mitigation plans in an area that's a very large forest. So this is what we believe to be a really important project. It has minimal impact in terms of even the traffic mitigation here. This is actually an ongoing project, it's not new. There's a new grant, which is extending the work that's getting done up there. And so, based upon that, they've needed sort of more infrastructure in terms of this barn to help house the equipment. So, we didn't even probably know what was going on. So the impact on the adjacent road network is really minimal. Tim can speak to this, but a lot of the timber that gets cut either gets mulched and stays on site, or it gets dispersed on site. If it's like the unhealthy stuff, the stuff that's pretty viable will get hauled off and taken to market. So that impact on the road network is not significant in our experience or understanding. So obviously this is seasonal. It's more summer months when it's warm and dry where they can do this kind of work. So I think that's the CUP approval criteria. The next screen speaks to our kind of backcountry site plan. Again, I spoke to the comp plan. It conforms with our code, the application does, the submittal requirements were proper. We believe that the harmony is probably mostly to the natural environment. And I mentioned that mine shaft that was closed properly. So we believe that this application meets the approval criteria. So the next screen would be the two conditions of approval. The compliance with Lake County Fire Rescue and any other statements that sort of get made tonight that need to be tracked. The fire district did request water storage for in case of a fire. So at the time of a building permit, there'll be a requirement, they'll work together. They're not really required to do it. They offered it, Tim offered it, and the fire marshal took them up on that. So we'll get that done at the appropriate time. So based on these two conditions, we're recommending this favorably to you all. And this is an application that the CUP goes to the board, the site plan does not. So it's a little bit of a dual application. So I can answer any questions and Tim is here to do the same.
Great, thank you. Can we switch to the Zoom just? Tim, did you have anything you wanted to add to Melissa's presentation? You're muted.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. The only thing I'd add is, the county cell phone towers and the water management system and the early warning fire detection system are all up on the ranch, on the property. And there's a lot of mine mitigation activity that occurs. And that's really, that's added to the forestry piece in that I have to maintain the roads in order to maintain access to all of those things. And that's why the equipment's up there. So, I have to do it for the forest ag program, but we've got the cell towers and the early fire warning system and the wireless towers for the county and everything else up there. And right now, all of my equipment just sits outside and it's just getting destroyed. And I spend more time maintaining it than I do using it now because it sits outside all year long. So I really got to get it covered up. I just beg you for help in getting my equipment covered up.
Great, thank you. County Commissioners or Planning Commission, anybody have any questions for Melissa or the applicant?
I have none.
No, thank you.
No questions here, thanks.
Okay. David, I see you may be unmuted. Did you have any?
I have no questions.
Okay. All right, and we would have two separate motions on this because of the.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Are there any members of the public that have any comments or questions on this file?
Nope.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion to close the public hearing portion of this file?
I move to close the public portion hearing of this file.
11 seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Do we wanna skip discussion and motion so that we can keep the commissioners in the room? And then we can discuss them in motion on both of them at the
Sure.
end? Okay,
You're probably able
Is
to
that
track
okay?
all that.
yeah, I think we can, yeah. Everybody feel good about that? Okay. So what we'll do is, we're gonna open up, while the commissioners can stay in the room for public hearing portions, they don't stay in the room for deliberation, so we're going to move us to file 25-42 and 43, which is the Rose Hut and Peggy's Bunkhouse Group Camp and CUP and Backcountry Site Plan. Then we will come back, once we close that public hearing and the commissioners exit the meeting, we will come back and work through our motions and discussions. I get to read this opening statement again, though, I think. The Lake County Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners will now conduct a joint public hearing. This statement I am reading shall be incorporated into and made part of the record on these proceedings. The Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners have jurisdiction to conduct a joint public hearing on a conditional use permit application under section 3.61 of the Lake County Land Development Code. And simultaneously, the Planning Commission will open the site plan review pursuant to section 5.2.27.1. The purpose of this hearing is to consider whether the conditional use permit application and site plan review should be approved. In considering that matter, the commission will address the approval criteria set forth in sections 3.6.1F and 5.2.27.1D of the Lake County Land Development Code. Procedure to be followed will be, members of the commission and board will disclose any ex parte communications. County staff will make their initial presentation. The applicant may then make their presentation. After that, any other persons either supporting or opposing the application may present evidence. Supporting and opposing witnesses may be questioned by the commission and the board. Once questioning is concluded, no further questioning is permitted unless granted by the chair. And 6, the applicant may then present any rebuttal evidence. The parties and witnesses are asked not to submit redundant, irrelevant, or cumulative evidence. If someone has already made the point that you wish to make, please simply say so. The chair will also require that all comments be made to the planning commission and the board. There be no dialogue between the applicant and members of the audience. At the conclusion of the evidentiary portion of the hearing, the chair will entertain a motion to close the evidentiary portion of the hearing, and the commission will discuss and weigh the evidence. Then there will be a motion to close the discussion phase of the joint public hearing. The Board of County Commissioners will lead the meeting, and the chair of the Planning Commission will entertain a motion on the application. The motion may take the form of one of the following recommendations. 1, approve the application with no conditions. 2, approve the application with recommended conditions. 3, approve the application with newly identified conditions. Or 4, deny the application. The planning director shall make a record of any substantial discussion on the motion and include that in the record with the recommendation of the commission. The commission's recommendation will be in the form of a statement of motion. Are there any objections to the jurisdiction of the commission or to the form or substance of these proceedings? Hearing none, I will now ask each planning commission member and then each county commissioner If you have any ex parte communications to disclose, and if so, to please disclose them now. Joey Edwards?
None.
Jason Marufo?
I think this might be the one.
Okay,
So I received questions from someone in the public at during a Christmas party regarding the zoning of this particular application. I said, I don't know to pretty much all the answers, or to all the questions, but there were questions around tax, zoning, and why is this okay or not okay?
Do you believe you can declare yourself impartial?
I think so, cause I can barely remember what exactly all the questions are, but someone did, when they found out I was on the planning commission, then started asking questions, and I said, I don't even know which CUP you're talking about.
yeah, in the
But
future,
it's-
just say, I can't talk to you about it anyway, call staff.
Okay,
And then that
Okay.
way they don't keep
but
asking
I was gonna leave
questions,
that up to you guys to determine, I mean, it doesn't matter.
No,
to
it
me
would be
either
if
way.
you felt like you had obtained information outside of this hearing that would give you any opinions on how to move forward with your voting on this application.
I don't think so. The only thing, my concern is, I remember they kept saying it was regarding agricultural zoning, but when I'm seeing this, it's backcountry zoning, so I don't know if maybe still this isn't the one, but they
might
might
not
say
be.
it was this particular meeting. And I said, well, I didn't even know we had a meeting, because I thought we were off till January.
The standard to meet is, do you believe you can be impartial and that you disclose it?
Yeah, I think I can be impartial.
Okay. David Church,
None.
Ryan Hill,
None.
Heather Lynn, none. Commissioner Tharp,
None.
Commissioner Lee,
None.
Commissioner Bullock. Okay, Jeff?
Thank you. So this is the Rose Hut and Peggy's Bunkhouse application. We have the applicants here and their baby. So, they'll be available to answer any questions. So, this property is on a mining claim, 10.3 acres. It's located up County Road 6B. And the property is zoned backcountry, and they're requesting a group camp, which is why we have a conditional use permit application as well as a backcountry site plan. You can kind of see where it's located on this map. Go ahead. So the proposal is to utilize existing structures for overnight stays, and these are pictures of those structures. The applicant's gonna speak a little bit to why they're existing structures, as part of his presentation. But the Rose Hut is habitable at this point, the ones on top. The Peggy's Bunkhouse is going to require some additional work in order for it to be utilized. So these structures were never given COs, so essentially what we're doing is bringing them into compliance. I think they preceded our zoning regulations for backcountry, so that's kind of how we got here. So both structures can accommodate from 6 to 8 guests. We're talking about maybe 12 to 16 people, so in this case, we're saying 16 people as part of this group camp. So moving forward. This is the site plan, a little challenging to read, but you kind of get the idea of how the structures are laid out. The Rose Hut is on the lower end, and the Peggy's Bunkhouse is up higher on this mining claim. They will include freestanding solar panels in order to provide electric power, as well as a generator for this site. There's a propane furnace for baseline heating, as well as wood burning stoves to help heat the cabins. Water will be carried in, so no water is provided on site. And the wastewater was approved, the composting toilets on November 18th. So they got through the variance process for those. Next slide. It is, part of its value is the wildlife that's in this area. It's what's defined as disturbed higher scoring. So you can see that blue swath. And I put that checklist on the right-hand side, so there's lots of wildlife that migrate through this area. And there are recommendations through Colorado Parks and Wildlife that certainly we're sort of continuing with our backcountry structures as a standing conditional use permit, so that people are good stewards of the land. So you can go forward. Again, this CUP approval criteria, this is, we believe it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. It's really what the backcountry was intended to, a real light touch, off-grid, and using existing structures that are already there, so the impact is really minimal on the roads network. Again, what self-propelled, I like that term, means people walk and snowshoe and, get themselves to these huts by and large. So we do believe it's in harmony with our surrounding neighbors and the land. Again, that real minimal touch on the land, so that it's not seen, it's not, I think, gonna be experienced as an intensive use in any way, pretty quiet. There's a generator that does emanate noise, but that's in one of the sheds that is insulated, and it's 150 feet from, I think, the property boundaries, so I don't think anyone's gonna hear that. So, I think that's enough for the CUP approval criteria. Next slide is the backcountry, again, conforms with our code. We've received all the submittal requirements that we need, and we're not aware of any man-made hazards. There's no mining, subsistence or anything like that that have been left on the land. So we believe it meets the approval criteria for the site plan. So based upon that, we have, next slide, some conditions of approval. Need a permit from Public Works for the parking on the county road. The occupancy is limited to 180 days per year. That's for their variance, the approved variance. These are these running conditions for living in this environment. The revegetation of disturbed soils, best practices, living with wildlife, and compliance with the fire district, facilities for trash, so again, living with the wildlife in the area. So, and then any other statements that are made tonight that we need to track. So a lot of these are pretty standard, as we're seeing in our backcountry structures. So with that, we are recommending it favorably with these conditions of approval, and again, Carter Shaver is here to answer any questions or to be able to speak on behalf of the application. When you're ready.
Yes, if you have your own presentation or anything additional you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to say a few words. Thanks for the opportunity, and thanks, Melissa, for putting this together. My name is Carter Shaver. I'm the applicant and owner of the Rose Hut and Peggy's Back Bunkhouse. My wife and I, Kate, we just welcomed our baby boy, our first child, into the world this past September, so we're navigating some new challenges ourselves. Kate's a real estate agent in town. I'm a contractor, and hopefully little Conrad's a future Nordic ski racer here at Lake County High. So that's our hope. Melissa covered a lot of technical details. I'll fill in some of the blanks as we go. I really wanted to focus on who we are and why we want to do this and what brings us to this point today. And that starts with our background. So I grew up in Southwest Ohio, single mother. My brother and I, we've got fond memories of going to our family reunion. My grandma was one of 18. So it's kind of a unique experience to have 150 of your closest relatives every year. Super unique for my grandma because she always had one place to call home. And we all do, because that property's still in the family. And that's our home place. And I was always inspired to have something similar for my family. And now I've got this little boy here that we can hopefully pass all these properties down the generations, right? And no matter where our family is in the world, we have a place to call home. And that's what's inspired me to be able to purchase these properties and provide this opportunity. And Kate grew up outside of Houston. She went to Colorado School of Mines, and she spent her summers up in Canada, where her grandfather built an off-grid cabin, which has kind of inspired how we're living off-grid on Longdairy. Because we've lived on Longdairy for the last 5 years. We're right down the road. We snowmobile in the winter. We chop wood to prepare for the next winter in the summer, because it's winter often, right? And her grandpa started up this summer canoe tripping camp that Kate would go and spend 3 to 6 weeks at in the summers. And that inspired her love for nature, her sense of adventure, sense of independence. And she's hoping to inspire that in others with the Rose Hut and Peggy's Bunkhouse as well. And now as adults, you know, we've spent a lot of time in the backcountry. We've done a lot of these backcountry huts as well in Lake County and across Colorado. And we've really come to value and appreciate the power of nature and of relationships. And one of the things that we've really valued, especially for the Rose Hut, is when we go on these trips in the backcountry, the memories and the adventures that we have, they pay dividends, right? You don't get to just to experience them once, you get to experience them every time you see those friends and those families. And those are the things that we really cherish in life. And, you know, selfishly, it's probably, I want to create this because I don't have enough of it in my own life. And I want to be able to share that with other people. So we're trying to strike that balance between comfort and discomfort, similar to other backcountry structures like this, where we provide enough amenities that you're not in the fight or flight mode all the time, but enough discomfort that you're getting into some creative thinking, you're connecting with your surroundings, and you're more aware of being in the present moment. And that's the unique thing about these backcountry hut experiences, is that they do provide that for people. And so it's something that, you know, we've come to cherish in our experiences at huts like this. You know, there are 3 unique aspects that I want to point out today about our submittal. The first thing is, as Melissa pointed out, these structures are existing. They've been there since the early 2000s. Permits were pulled originally, but never closed. So we've been working with Ann for 18 to 24 months, even before we purchased these properties, to figure out how can we bring them into legal status and get them on a path where we can start utilizing them and sharing it with the community. So it's been a long time to get us to this day today. Then additionally, the second thing is we live there. If there's anybody that's going to be impacted, it's going to be us. We live there full time. And we understand the challenges of traveling in the winter, and we're uniquely positioned to be able to communicate that to our guests. We also understand the seriousness of fire mitigation, which is why we're not allowing any campfires, no discharging of firearms or fireworks, because if something happens, then that impacts our livelihood, right? We can't take that risk. And we also are the owners, the operators, the public relations, the marketing team. We're going to be doing everything. We're going to be directly communicating with all of our guests, and we can communicate the seriousness of our concerns and the risks of being in the backcountry. The third thing is our land position in the area as well. We own over 200 net acres that connect to or surrounding the Rose Hut, Peggy's Bunkhouse. And our drive is really for conservation. We want our peace and quiet. We want our neighbors to be able to come up and enjoy it as well. That's a driver for us, and we definitely have conversations about how do we still share this and mitigate the concerns from our neighbors, and for us too, about we want to enjoy our peace and quiet, right? And we want that for the community as well. So those are the 3 unique things, right? They're our land position, that we live up there, and that the structures are already existing. So to close out my little soapbox here, it'd be very easy for us to say, you know what, we own 200 acres, we're just going to close it off, and it's just going to be for us. It's just going to be for our family, because, you know, I want to provide that legacy property, that home place for little Conrad and my wife Kate. And but I think what's more impactful for us is how can we share this experience and help the community? Because once I start thinking outside of myself and realize that we can have a positive impact on many, many more people that need these sorts of experiences in our community, that need to get out, because people are coming up are just like you and I. You know, they just need a little break. And it's so healthy for us to be able to connect in nature, slow down, connect with loved ones and friends. And we are so excited to be able to provide that opportunity and still keep in mind the respect for our neighbors and respect for wildlife as well. So thanks for the opportunity.
Melissa, can you remind, would you mind putting the Zoom thing back on there too, but, do we have I just remember having, it was lots of years of discussions on backcountry, so I can't quite remember what we ended up putting in place, but did we end up requiring a, like, best practices? Where I'm going is, I would love to see us, and I wish we'd do it with every rental, but anything that's like a booklet, it's like, here's how best practices of surviving in the backcountry in general, you know, as far as like fires and what you do on roads and what to expect in these situations and who to contact if this goes on or something like that. And I don't know if we already have it as a requirement. I imagine these guys are probably already planning that, but I just wanted to, I can't remember what we have required.
Require the emergency management plan as part of this, which they provide, which gets to a lot of what you're saying, which is also what the fire district looks at.
Yeah.
But that lighter touch, I'm not aware of something that's on the brochure, you keep doing this, but you know, that you give to people. So I think we really look to the owners for a lot of that, that management, so unless Ann knows something.
Yeah, I think that we would want, yes, that's where we talked about it, and I think we did talk about it during backcountry, but backcountry didn't allow short-term rentals without going through the CUP, so maybe that's why it didn't end up probably, but I guess I would like to see that as a condition, just anticipate that they're gonna do it anyway, but I think requiring there to be some kind of information that's provided to every single guest on how to be safe and also
There was a
respect
format for that done for the Climax Revival CUP up on Chalk Mountain, so maybe there's a form there that,
a format or something.
yeah, a format that could be easily copied. It's just a one page do's and don'ts in the backcountry. That's a great idea.
Okay, we'll make a note of that. Yeah.
Any questions from planning commission or county commissioners?
Yeah, so, I mean, this is probably what you're talking about, so is there a short-term rental licensing requirement for backcountry, or there is not?
So regular short-term rentals are not allowed in the backcountry. There's no short-term rental permitting, it's only like group camp or hut type CUPs, so the conditional use permit for that, which is what this is.
Okay,
But a typical STR permit isn't permitted in the backcountry.
so then the 180 days, that's the one thing that popped out for me, the maximum of 180 days. Can someone explain exactly what that means? Is it 180 days per 15 people? Is the 15 people include the residents on the property?
So these guys live on a different property that's near this
Adjacent to it.
property, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, it
okay,
is
maybe I
not
was
on the-
confused, cause you were saying
we
we
live
live there.
Yeah, they live
Okay. Okay.
on a different property, so there won't be anybody living on this property full-time. So it would just be that there can only be occupancy 180 days, whether it's 2 people or 15 people, only 180 nights can be occupied.
Okay, so if there's one person there for 20 days, that eats up 20 days regardless. Okay,
At the same time, 15 people could be in the 2 cabins for 15 days, and that's still only 15 days.
right, okay. I didn't know if there was some formula of how that works. How is that monitored or captured, or is it a honor system?
It's an honor system complaint basis
Okay,
investigation.
okay,
Yeah, even the inspections are done by third parties, cause these are in pretty remote locations and it takes a lot of staff time, so we depend a lot on the applicants and their professionals to manage
okay.
details.
It is literally complaint based That's the only way you're able to do that.
Okay,
which is kind of agreeing with all of our code, but yeah.
right, okay. Okay.
It didn't stay in your,
And there is a question.
in your application, the solar array, it'll just be one solar array to take care of the two properties, the two structures.
Yeah.
Commissioner Lee?
It's hard for me to tell by just looking at those little pictures there, but have we had anyone on site at all to look at the condition of the structures and what type of shape they're in before we have 6 to 8 people sleeping in something? The one structure looked fairly sound and well built. The one looked a little bit like a shed to me, and I couldn't see what kind of foundation it had set up in the pictures. So I just wondered about the safety of the structures, and do we have anyone who has taken a look at these at all?
Do you wanna start?
Sure, yeah. We've had a third-party engineer evaluate the structures and submit that letter with the application as well, so Melissa has that in the application. And for the Rose Hut, we will be doing the same thing for Peggy's Bunkhouse. Once we get to that phase of construction, right, the Rose Hut is effectively ready to go. Peggy's Bunkhouse is stick framed and dried in at the moment, so we will have that third-party engineer come up, do his evaluation, and submit a letter of recommendation for any remediation that we need to do, or to stamp that it's safe and ready to go.
Yeah, so their CUP wouldn't, be valid until both, or one or both of those structures are approved.
Yep.
Commissioner Tharp? You're muted.
So sorry, thank you, Chair. So is this then considered in these backcountry situations, a hut or a group site? Are those like commercial accommodations then? Like how is the land tax and the use tax within these commercial?
Elsa, can you scoot closer to your microphone, please?
I'm so sorry. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay.
I think you were asking how it's gonna be taxed, if it's gonna be commercial or residential.
Well, I'm assuming it's commercial, but then is it considered an accommodation? Like, I don't know how that
Can you, was it, you're
What's the
asking if
second part of the question?
the lodging
Accommodations?
tax applies in
Is it
this
lodging or
situation,
accommodation?
right?
Lodging tax would apply,
Yep.
Sales and lodging
okay.
tax.
Yeah, cool, thanks. I didn't know how hut and group sites were.
Yes.
And that would be done by the assessor, so the assessor would make that evaluation.
Well, the assessor will do their property taxes, but they will be responsible for having a sales and lodging tax license and filing that with the state.
Correct, which I own another short-term rental, so for the last decades, I'm very familiar with that process.
So, since you brought up the assessor and property tax, is that taxed differently as a backcountry zone when it's got a group camp CUP?
So it's gonna be taxed as it's being used, so because it will be a commercial type operation, I think it will be taxed similar to other group camp.
Commercial type,
Yeah,
okay.
so it wouldn't be, and the assessor doesn't have a different tax base for backcountry zoning, but they do whether it's used residentially or commercially.
Right.
So that's
Okay.
how they're viewing
As
it,
long as the CUP is active. it
right,
would
as long as
be-
it's being used that way, yep.
So then if it falls in the middle of a year and you decide, you know what, we don't wanna have all these guests anymore and we wanna just keep it in the family and change that, you're still potentially being taxed commercially
yeah, that
throughout
would be the commercial
those
for
2
that
years
year.
or whatever. Okay. Okay,
Yeah, until he changes that use with,
when it gets
The county and the
reassessed
assessor.
or whatever, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I'd just like to say, is it fair to bring a cute baby to it?
I know, when they said that there's no, bias, and then they brought the baby in, I was like,
These babies are really good.
Say no about cute baby.
cute baby,
Matt, can you weigh in on this? Is this?
Is this legal?
He's doing so good.
I know, you haven't turned him around, which is good.
You guys be nice, because if it starts going the wrong way, she's gonna take me in the pinky and we're all in trouble.
That's right, yeah. One of us will be right.
Now, good job, you guys, cleaning up those old properties, and so you'll get a CO, or you have a CO for the bigger structure?
We will need to still get the CO.
Yeah.
Yep. So we have a bit of a process still ahead of us, for sure. But yeah, we're ready to move forward.
Nice.
David Urich or Ryan Hill, did either of you have any other questions or comments?
None for me.
Okay.
None for me.
The only other question I had, is there anything, because nothing was technically permitted prior, is there anything outside of the guidelines of backcountry zoning that the buildings don't adhere to at the moment?
No.
They'll be required.
No, that would be in our purview.
Right,
Yeah.
okay,
And they'll be required, since they weren't finished, they'll be required to be current.
to come into compliance?
Yes.
Okay, alright.
Mhm. Yeah, so my only recommendation would be that additional condition of a user renter manager or renter manual.
Yeah, and the only thing I would like to add, I know you said that you're not gonna allow campfires and whatnot.
That's in the application already.
Okay, but yeah, just making sure that that's
It's explicit.
It's written in.
Yeah.
right. I think we've done that for another country.
If it's written in, then it's already.
Okay,
Mhm.
Yeah, anything in the application is part of the file.
okay,
Yeah.
alright.
Any members of the public that wish to make any comments?
I'm Jim Bankin from Albuquerque.
Hey, Jim?
I had submitted a letter with comments. I don't know if that's in the minutes.
Yeah, did you want us to read that as part of the record?
Sure, that would be great. I have a hard time competing against a cute baby, I'm sure, but
I know, yeah. Okay, I'll go ahead and read it here. Dear Commissioners, we believe it is in the best interest of Lake County to vote against the project as proposed. Thank you for the opportunity to submit comments on a conditional use permit for the above referenced file 25-42, a conditional use permit for a project within Lake County's backcountry zone. We will begin with some brief background information. We are the owners of two patent and mining claims close to the proposed project, the Hawkeye Bell and the Evo, which our family has owned and enjoyed while preserving them in their natural undeveloped state since 1986. Our Hawkeye Bell is 2 standard mining claim widths, or approximately 600 feet east of the California Rose, the claim on which the proponent's project would be situated. The Evo borders U.S. Forest Service land to the east, which quickly rises to the West Sheridan Peak. Historic mining activity in the nearby vicinity was relatively minor and now largely blends into the natural environment. When the county included this area in the new backcountry zone, we welcomed the zoning since it appeared it was intended to preserve the natural environment of this wild, relatively unspoiled high country by restricting new commercial uses, rentals, and structure sizes. Our understanding is that one of the goals of the backcountry zoning is to restrict short-term rentals, such as Airbnb properties. If an Airbnb rental to say 1 to 4 people is considered not compatible with backcountry zoning, then what amounts to a bare bones sort of motel with a short-term rentals up to 16 people, as this permit application appears to propose? It should not be considered compatible. A facility of up to 16 people staying at one site well into the backcountry zone will change the nature of the area. It will no longer be backcountry. 16 guests at a time will invariably disrupt a quiet, natural area now frequented by wildlife, especially elk. Hikers we visit within the area invariably spend their nights in Leadville or other nearby towns and are much less disruptive to wildlife. Perhaps the proposal could be built outside the backcountry, and this would be one area Lake County that is left wild and natural, as hikers prefer and we believe the county's backcountry zoning intended. Thank you again for this opportunity to comment and for your consideration. Sincerely, James Mencken and Annalisa Becken. Did you have anything in addition you wanted to add to that?
I guess our comment is we were surprised that rentals were allowed in the backcountry because I thought that was not the case. We go up there occasionally to camp, especially to watch wildlife. It's in the season. It's usually an unusual day that we don't see an elk, and I think just 16 people is overly intensive for this site. If rentals are allowed in the backcountry, then we would not oppose renting the house to one to 4 people or something like that. But 16 people is just going to, you know there's going to be noise at night as well as in the day. Although the owners, I appreciate that they're not that far away, but they're way too far to hear that. It's a good ways away. We're only 600 feet away. So I just feel like this area is wild and it's relatively unspoiled. We love the area. We spend time in Leadville, stay in Mineral or other places, and love the town. So I just think this is an area that really is special, and I hate to see it go to a commercial development. If it's just a few people, that's not so disruptive to wildlife, especially at night. And I think 16 is just way too many. But I appreciate your listening.
Okay, thank you, Jim. And just to clarify, backcountry zone properties are not eligible for a regular STR or Airbnb permit. So that part is correct. It's just that if somebody goes through a conditional use permit application such as this for group camps or something that can be monitored and uniquely placed conditions upon, to have a better hold on it than an STR permit would give, is the way that it's allowed. So that's the way that we wrote that into the backcountry code language, if that makes sense.
I would feel better if they were like a camp host or something like that, as opposed to guests basically controlling themselves, especially a large number.
Can you see these structures from where you're located, or is there no line of sight? You said 600
it depends on where we are. I'm sorry. We can see the structures, some of the structures, unless we're behind trees on our own property. But our property it's a mix of forest and open alpine meadow. So if we're on the meadow, we can see it. Yes. Not the house actually. The house is kind of hanging over the edge, but the shed we can definitely see it stands out. Also from anywhere on West Sheridan Peak.
Okay, thank you. I don't see a first name, but McNearney, and if you could state your full name, please.
Yeah, hi, this is Pat McNerney. I know Kate and Carter well, and I just have a few questions on the mapping portion of Empire Valley, because currently the mapping is still off by over 500 feet. So we still have people trespassing on our property. We have a property on the other side of the valley, and we do look directly at the rows. And currently, people come across our property, and if they're using OnX, where they got the data from the county, it's off by 500 feet. So if this does go through and gets approved, I think before it is approved, the mapping in the entire Empire Valley should be updated so people know when they're trespassing.
Thank you. Yeah, I can attest to that. Several times I've gone looking for mining claims for people that are listing them or what have you, and it's really fun to try to find them using the apps. So
I did have all of my property corners surveyed by a professional surveyor, pinned, and the Thatcher is also pinned and registered at the state, so the county can fix their mapping based on that.
Okay.
And it's all that it has been submitted to the county.
Okay, thanks. Bryce, maybe that's a note for Bryce.
Well, it could, but it needs to.
Oh, is it for you now?
Come to Shelby.
Mine might be too, Shelby, we can talk about that.
Yeah, actually, we could have you submit it directly to, you have mine, Melissa Kendrick's email, I think, right, Mr. McNearney?
Yeah, go ahead. Pat.
Yeah, go ahead. My wife was going to have a comment as well.
You a question.
What was that question before? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, if you have that information, if you would be able to send it directly to Melissa.
Oh,
so
yeah. Yeah,
sure
definitely.
It gets to the mapper. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I actually offered that before, and they said they would reach out to me, and they never did. So.
There's definitely been a lot of short staff issues, so thank you for your patience, but that'd be great if you don't mind submitting it again.
Yeah, no problem.
And then I'm Pat's wife, Christina, and I also have a question because we have owned the Thatcher now since 2004. And we did build a backcountry structure on our land. And when the county changed our taxes to commercial, we approached the county and asked if we could rent out our backcountry unit, and we were denied. So I'm wondering, what determines who gets to rent out their property and who doesn't? And how many of these backcountry rentals can we have within a certain mile radius? Or is there no regulation on that? Thank you.
Sure, so again, a regular short-term rental license permit is not allowed in the backcountry zoning district. So to just go and say, hey, I want to rent out my house as a short-term rental, the only way that it's allowed is if it were submitted as something such as this with a conditional use permit to use it as a group camp or a hut, and then it's site specific and each application is thought of differently based on where it is, what its access is, and those kinds of things. So if you were denied that, it was probably because we don't allow the regular short-term rental licenses to be just given out without somebody going through this more arduous conditional use permit hearing. Why your property is zoned commercial does not make sense, but unfortunately, that would be something that I think you need to talk further with the assessor about. There's nothing that would deem a backcountry property from being zoned commercial unless you were going through a group camp and using it commercially. So that should not be the case, that you are being assessed as a commercial use. But again, you'd have to take that up with the assessor here in town.
I did talk to them and they said they will not change it.
But it's commercial, or is it just that you're zoned backcountry?
We're zoned commercial, or we're being taxed as commercial. So I said, well, if I'm being taxed as commercial, then I'm legally allowed to rent it out.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
And they said no.
Hey, Pat, this is Tamara. I am the interim director for the EDC. We could perhaps connect offline and maybe talk through some support in a process to get you realigned with some folks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that would be great.
Correct.
Information in the chat.
And
can you put your information in the chat, please?
Carter will get you connected to me.
Yep, I'll reach out afterwards, Pat and Christina, and get you connected.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks, Carter.
But then I also, the question about how many, because we do have the yurts that are just, on the other side of the hill that are rented out. So how many of these backcountry, hut style systems are we going to allow, and how close in proximity can they be?
Well, and we don't have anything in the code that's set for a max number or a max distance or anything, but that's again why we have them as conditional use permits, so that we can hear and assess each application for exactly those kinds of things, how close they are to others, how many more we want, how much density we want, or something like that. And kind of leaning on other property owners around to give us that insight of, hey, it's too much traffic, we have too much traffic from these neighboring huts, or nope, it's fine. So I think that's part of the process that the conditional use permit application allows us to assess those things.
And I also want to make a note that we do rescue people every year, multiple times a year.
Yes, we do.
Yep.
Going to the yurts.
Yeah, get people unstuck that take a wrong turn on the snowy road and
show up to our cabin. My cabin and your cabin.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
So Tamara Genlink, I'm going to wear two hats. The first one will be interim director for the EDC, and from an economic development standpoint, just want to throw out some pieces that feel really important. As we lean into our One Community project, and as we start to think about what is our identity, how are we managing both lodging and accommodation in our county, we are sending, at any given time, 75-80% of our folks over the hill somewhere else. So having a sustainable path forward that gets us into a place where we have lodging that does meet kind of the community values feels really important. It also does keep some of those tax dollars in our county, which is huge as well. But ultimately, how are we building a sustainable identity? How are we building a path forward that does incorporate backcountry use? This is an opportunity, I think, to also be thinking about how we're educating, how we are creating good humans in the backcountry, shepherded by them, stewarded by, the components as what is your title in this role? I actually don't know that. I'm supposed to refer to you as, anyway, as you recommended best practices, right? Having those pieces, this gives us an opportunity, I think, to really think about a couple pieces. One is lodging, accommodation, how we're meeting that need and keeping people in our county, but also how we are thinking about stewardship in the backcountry as well, and really working together with our partners, and in this case, Carter and Kate, to create a path that is developing good usage, is developing good humans, and is helping us also adopt.
We have to leave it open a little bit, but you can, yeah, that's great, thank you.
Pieces of
the required open door.
Pieces of economic development that are also critical and crucial as we move forward. So we're gonna face some of these challenging components, but also here is an application that certainly meets all those pieces and criteria that is both our community side, but also keeping some dollars in fund. Switching hats. I do live a mile away from them, and have known Kate and Carter for the last 5 years, and I would just actively say I think this is a great place for us to start with that in terms of people who have already demonstrated themselves as really amazing stewards of the land. And how do we work together with them in that same component to develop something that is usable, sustainable. So from both a private and just a leadership, hopefully that was not me creating some kind of convoluted pathway, but just naming some things that feel important to have on record. Thanks.
Anybody from, no, we don't have any other public members who have not already spoken. Oh, maybe?
Yeah, I haven't got a chance. I'm sorry, I don't remember how to put my hand on the screen.
No, that's okay. You're doing a great job.
My name's Joe Reel, and I own a smaller mining claim there in the Empire Valley, and I just wanted to kind of echo, I think it was Mr. Benkin, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Apologies if I'm not. Just that we've owned that claim since I think 2006 or 2007, and I also have 3 children who we've just really enjoyed going up there hiking, having a picnic, and really enjoying the wildlife up there. And I just want to make sure that if we're going to have backcountry zoning, that it really is protecting everything. And I know everybody wants that as well, but I really heard Mr. Benkin loud and clear, and I just want to make sure that I'm on the record saying that that is, I think, a unique opportunity for us, and I know that we want to all do the stewardship correctly, and I just want to make sure that, we don't have too many people at one time doing whatever their honor system tells them to do in this area, just because my children also really love to be up there, and I would hate for it to be kind of impacted more than it already is. That's all I had.
Great, thank you, Joe. Any other questions from commissioners or planning commission?
I have none, thank you.
Okay. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing on 25-42 and 43?
I move to close the public portion.
Edward seconds.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, commissioners, enjoy your evening.
Okay, good luck, thank you.
Have a great holiday.
You too.
Take another cookie for the road.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks for being here in person, Matt.
What's up?
Thanks for being here in person.
Sure.
Thanks, appreciate it.
How do you change it?
Okay, I think the commissioners have Okay, I'm gonna bring us back to file 25-41 and 48, which was the Sugarloaf Mountain Ranch Backcountry CUP and site plan. Planning Commission, anybody have any additional thoughts or questions, or is somebody ready to make a motion on that file? Or files, there would be two separate motions, so we'll do one at a time.
Right.
None for me.
Edwards moves, the planning commission recommend approval of file number 25-41, Sugarloaf Mountain Ranch CUP, an application to construct a wildfire mitigation base of operations and facility, basic utility, on 20.6 acres located at 3500 County Road 4, containing something
happened there.
to the Board of County Commissioners with the following conditions. The applicant should comply with all Lake LLCFR requirements, including an emergency evacuation plan and also wildlife mitigation plan to include a safety zone. Number 3 is plan on hazardous chemical storage, including oils, fuels, and other. Number 4 is a water storage capabilities for fire suppression efforts. Point number 2, all statements and representations made by the applicant in this application and in the hearing shall be binding and considered as approvals of conditions of approval. And further finding that as conditions, section 3.6.1F, approval criteria of the LDC have been met as evidenced in the staff report dated 12/22/25.
I second.
Any discussion on the CUP portion of that motion? On this file? Okay, I'm gonna do a roll call vote. Joey Edwards,
Yes.
Jason Rupo,
Yes.
David Jurich,
Yes.
Ryan Hill,
Yes.
Heather Lind, yes. Okay, and then the site plan portion, which is file 25-48.
You wanna make that one, Jason? I can make it.
Yeah, you make that, cause I'm reading
I was gonna say,
the next
I don't know how you
thing,
do that.
sorry.
Yeah.
I move the planning, Edwards moves the planning commission recommend approval of file number 25-48, Sugarloaf Mountain Ranch site plan. An application to construct a wildfire mitigation base of operations and facility, basic utility, on 2.6 acres located at 3500 County Road 4. According to the Board of County Commissioners, with the following conditions. First, the applicant shall comply with all LLCFR requirements, including number 1, an emergency evacuation plan, number 2, wildfire mitigation plan to include safety zone, number 3, plan on hazardous chemical storage, including oils, fuels, and other, and 4th, water storage capabilities for fire suppression efforts. And point number 2, all statements and representations made by the applicant in this application and in the hearing shall be binding and considered as conditions of approval. And further finding that as conditions, section 5.2.271D, site plan approval criteria of the LDC have been met as evidenced in the staff report dated 12/22/25.
I second.
Okay, any discussion? Joey Edwards,
Yes.
Jason Rupa,
Yes.
David Jurich,
Yes.
Ryan Hill,
Yes.
Heather Lind, yes. Okay, we move on to file 25-42 and 43, which is the Rose Hut and Peggy's Bunkhouse Group Camp CUP and Backcountry Site Plan. Before we get into motions, I definitely would want that condition for how to move,
Yeah. That sounds good. Can I make a statement before
Yes.
we make a motion?
Mhm.
One statement, and it's to the public. I know that a lot of the public has already dropped off, but also to the applicants. All of this that we're doing in the backcountry, trying to do in the very best interest of Lake County. All of this is complaint-based enforcement. So it's important that if you see things that you don't like, if you see things that you don't agree with, if you see things that could be managed better, then you speak up to the Lake County Planning Commission and make a report and follow through with that and do everything you can to be a good neighbor, both for the applicants and for the rest of Empire Valley. That's the only way this process gets better. So please do participate in the process. And thank you for the concerns and the points that were made.
So my only thought, since, you know, in reviewing both applications and hearing some of the public comment tonight, is things like, there's not gonna be any water here with 16 people.
And composting toilets are relatively limited in scale.
Which that I'm not as worried about. It's more of a, like, if something were to happen, there's no water to pull from
Yeah,
anything.
no cisterns or anything.
They don't
on
have
this one.
a well up there, they just bringing water in. I do feel like that feels a little bit, inadequate to not have any kind of water, storage for any kind of anything. So that is a little bit concerning to me, especially since it was a condition on the last one. I'm surprised the fire chief didn't require it on this one as well, but, so that would be the only thing. I mean, I agree with what you just said. I can certainly sympathize with the neighboring property owners that, I mean, I fought for backcountry zoning district for way too many years. To not let it do what it was intended to do, which is keep it quiet and pristine out there. And if there's, you know, as we all know, all of our backcountry is getting busier and busier every year, regardless of whether or not things like this exist. So I think recognizing that, and, you know, I do see the merit in having it be less than 16 people, but I also can see the merit of, you know, believing that these guys are neighbors and good intentions up there. Hopefully it will rarely be max capacity, but I would just say that I think that complaint basis needs to be reviewed, and I know our CUPs are reviewed every year anyway. But if that number has to come down in the future, I think then it has to come down. Because I think that's what concerns me a bit, is it is a lot of people at one time on one claim, and a lot of without supervision. And I'd love to believe that all the people that go into these backcountry huts are smart, like-minded people, but a lot of them are not. So, yeah, those are my two concerns after hearing public comments. So I don't know if anybody has anything else they'd like to.
So I also have a concern that essentially approving it is setting a precedence that all the neighboring properties, what's to stop them from also applying for a CUP?
Absolutely nothing.
And we have now, there's nothing to limit. Why would we not approve another one and another one and another one and another one? And then the next thing you know, you have density issue of unmonitored honor system participants.
We do have the ability to do that, and we had precedent in doing that, because we did that in West Park with short-term rental licenses. We identified an area that was overly used, and was receiving complaints, and we did put something in to limit any future licenses in that area. I think we would do exactly the same thing in Empire Valley if it became a problem.
Well, and that's exactly why we created it as a CUP process rather than just allowing short-term rental permits, because you want to be able to decide upon each application separately based on what's already being used around it.
Right.
And the density of it already and the traffic already and those kinds of things. So absolutely that would, I mean, who gets in there first is gonna be ahead of somebody who doesn't, you know, tries to get in later, because it's not gonna be as likely if it's, you know, right next door. So I don't think there's any, you know, I don't think there's any issues with that in the future. I think it's purely just a matter of, like, we're gonna continue seeing these applications for sure moving forward, and I think that our conversation moving into next year about what are group camps and what are the definitions, you know, like that we're supposed to start in January. I think the backcountry district is a huge piece of that conversation. which obviously isn't in play right this minute for these applications, but I think it is something to be thinking about, what do we want, and is it got its own use category moving forward in the use table that says this can't happen, and this is the max occupancy, and this is the whatever, right? And then you can really start to narrow those in, but as our code reads right now, it's conditional use permit, so we just decide whether, as it sits right now, if it's compliant with our.
It would be incredibly helpful from staff on future applications like this to see adjacent similar uses mapped out properly so that we can tell when we're getting to a density issue.
And the size.
Because I don't know how far away the yurts are from your property, but I'm familiar with the yurts. Being able to see that would be a nice thing ongoing, just as a staple. Is where are other like-minded sites in this general vicinity?
Okay.
That would help us address the density issue.
Yeah, and I agree with what Commissioner Lynn said about this is a part of looking at the larger picture.
Absolutely.
Because we probably have a density, I don't know that this is a good example of that, but there could be a higher level of density even than what we're seeing, and so, we need to look at that for the backcountry.
And this is 10 acres, they own 200 acres, I assume, adjacent. And then there are other people with much smaller parcels, so that would make a difference too.
Ryan Hill, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo, I think that the occupancy of 16 people at once is a concern, a valid concern, just to be echoed. Sorry, that's all.
And there was no parking right there, it's all hiking.
Right, and they're getting a parking permit from Public Works to be able to park down at the.
Is there a limitation to the amount of vehicles?
That'll be between them and Public Works.
Okay, I don't know if that's.
Am I allowed to comment at this point in time?
You
Is it helpful?
can talk to staff, yeah.
Well, I guess two things, Melissa. One being that there are limits on densities in the backcountry, and we're well under that. I think it's 5 people per acre or something large like that. We're not approaching anywhere.
And under our group camp designation.
Correct, yeah, as the code is written today, and our drive really is for conservation. Yes, there's 16 people, and that's modeled off of other similar backcountry huts in Lake County as well, that on their parcels, they allow up to 16 people, and sometimes even more, like the Weston Pass huts are like 10 or 20 or something like that. It's definitely one of our concerns as well.
So we closed public comment, so I need, if you're just gonna give her like a stat or something, then we can do that, but otherwise we're gonna have to open the back up public hearing.
Okay, great, sorry.
Okay. And sorry, that's true for you, Pat.
Yeah, so I guess my question then was, are you gonna have, you could potentially have 15 cars?
Yeah, but that's gonna be.
No, I don't know, people aren't gonna go up there like one person, one car. They're gonna be shuttled up there, we're imagining 2 or 3 cars at a time.
Right, I just don't wanna imagine though, but there is the potential, if for some reason, the worst case scenario, you could have 15 cars, 15.
Except that the county wouldn't allow that kind of parking permit.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
They would never allow 15 cars.
Okay,
And
so
that
there
would
would be a
mandated by
limitation
counties,
by Public
and by
Works.
the National Park Service.
Okay.
Sorry, the Forest.
Okay.
But so yeah, that's a secondary limitation.
Okay.
But outside of the purview, for what we're doing.
Right. I
Different
just
jurisdiction,
curious.
but no, that 15 cars is a massive size parking lot, and that's just not available up there. Mostly from an emergency egress standpoint.
Okay. David George, did you have any? I didn't know if I saw you.
No, I'm thinking along the same lines as the comments I've heard up till now. But 16 people seems like a lot.
Yeah.
And that's for, is 2 structures or?
2 structures, 6
So
to 8
8
people
people
per.
16 people total between 2 structures, and between 2 outdoor toilets.
Does the backcountry have any limitations on that occupancy per structure size or?
Not per structure, just per acre, which again is
Per
what we
acre.
need to
Okay,
look at if we wanna have
Which
that
is
a
quite a bit.
conversation later. Yeah, it's far more dense than their application.
I mean, I've been to some camps when I was little that there was, 12 kids in
Mhm.
10 by 10.
Sure.
I don't know. Maybe it's cool as a kid, but I don't know.
Can I still ask questions of the applicant? Not really.
Yeah, we'd have to open it back
We'd
up,
have to
huh?
reopen it. No, that's okay. You can do a straw poll to see how the commissioners feel about it.
Yeah.
Occupancy. I know that you have concerns, let's do a straw poll for everybody, what would your suggestions be?
That's a tough one, but I can see from, my biggest concern is anytime we approve anything like this or recommend approval is that you're setting a precedence. And that is tough for the next person and the next person. And then while the applicants can be great stewards and wanna have a family, maybe there's something happens down the road and then it gets taken over by someone and they're not as good of stewards. And this CUP, I don't know if the CUP has to be reapplied for by any new owners or it stays in
No, but as
existence.
soon as there's any complaints, then it gets readdressed and can be revoked at any time.
Okay. And so that would be potentially another concern is that, okay, you've opened it up for the commercial activity. There's no guarantee that it's gonna continue on from the original intent by the applicants.
No, that's very true, and that's where those complaints would come in. So in our hearing, we heard from the applicant that they're not gonna allow any outdoor fires at all. So if any adjacent neighbor ever happened to spot a fire ring or fires occurring, you would assume that some type of a complaint would be made and then we could readdress the CUP. It would open them back up to review.
Right.
That's what I would hope would happen.
Yeah, that's what would happen.
I just,
These are like perfect circumstances that people live there, they're familiar with the backcountry. They have neighbors who are committed and concerned and unaware.
Right.
So this would be an interesting test case. So I'm not necessarily opposed to 16 people, but it's literally a test case to see if, can you actually control 16 people up there and keep it with the intent of what the backcountry zoning was.
Right. I know it's just very.
Does 8 or 12 people sound better? But.
Well, but people also come here with the best intentions and they still make mistakes and they start that fire or they do something they're not supposed to and
There's a wood burning stove in both of these houses, yes.
And that could go awry and so those are things are, it can be as simple as, I think there was a fire last year or whatever, there was a e-cigarette.
The one down at.
The battery or the lithium battery was in the water and it caught fire or something and started an issue. Like there's so many things and then as you get more people that I hear there was the comment about the camp host. I mean, it's not a horrible thing, that gives you a little bit more. But I don't know, I like going camping with a bunch of family too, and 10, 12 people is not unheard of for just two small families. So I can see the appeal of that as well. But again, you have to think about all the rest of Lake County and surrounding that if something happens because you start getting too much density there and just kind of not paying attention maybe, and then it threatens the rest of the community. And that's, I guess, where there could be some concern that I have. But like I said, I'm not against it. I just think it's important to throw that out there.
Yeah, I feel like, I like that it's, remote backcountry, not doing anything additional to the land. The part that sticks out for me for 16 people is the lack of water. So there's not, a big requirement for that. So I think that's where I keep getting stuck, is it's not developed enough, which we don't want it to be developed, but it's not developed enough for 16 people,
So what
in
would
my
you
opinion.
suggest? Where does your head go?
I think right offhand, I would say 10 to 12 people would be my number, instead of 12 to 16.
Here's the other ones as well.
Ryan or David, any thoughts from you guys?
None further for me.
I don't have a number in mind. I know this sounds terrible, but I mean, I think about hunting season. What if you had 16 hunters up there? Would, would wouldn't that be a significant impact to the peacefulness of the area?
In this particular application, they're not allowing any firearms.
Okay.
It's not to say that you won't have hunters that are camping there, but this particular application, no fireworks, no firearms.
Okay. Well, yeah. I think we could propose a condition that would reduce the number of people. 10 to 12 would be, I think, a reasonable adjustment.
And if anything changed in the future, everything went beautifully, applicants could always come to us and say, hey, can we expand on that number? There's a whole new CUP process.
Well, it is a new CUP, because we don't have a CUP amendment, we may before we get there, have that, because this keeps coming up for us.
Yeah.
The size, just as an equivalent, is similar to the 10th Mountain Division hut. It's that kind of, that's that many people typically. So just in scale, it can't be 10 to 12, it needs to be
It needs to be
one or the other.
But the 10th Mountain Huts, for instance, are much larger facilities than these two houses are. I didn't ask for what square footage it is, but just based on the photographs, the 10th Mountain Hut is, some of these are 3,000 square feet. These are big facilities.
So that's some of your concerns, the size of the structures for this.
I think to add to that too, I have friends that will rent out those huts, and unfortunately, a lot of the concerns that were raised around what might happen at these facilities does happen at those huts.
Yeah.
Of course it does. Even with fire bans, it still happens.
100%.
Pat, I want to acknowledge that your hand is raised, but our public hearing portion is closed, so we can't take any more public comment.
I understand that, but you brought up a concern about the hunting and being directly across from those units.
Ma'am, I'm really sorry.
I'm sorry, I do want to say this. People every year unload semi-automatic weapons in that valley, and we hear continuous shooting. So I can't imagine a camp of 16.
I'm sorry, yeah. Okay, so any thoughts from planning commission members on proposed conditions to move us along?
Well, I think you said the one is in there so far as fires.
Yeah.
So that was a big one for me. But if it's in there, then that's captured, then that's part of the, since it's in the application, that's part of the conditions.
I'd like to see a required best practices form provided to each occupant or each user.
Is there because there's not a requirement for the water, but it was a recommendation?
No, not on this one. It wasn't a there's no requirement and there is no recommendation, but there is no water. All the water up there is to be carried in by occupants. So there's not a cistern, there's not a well, there's no way to pump water, there's no adjacent.
They're just bringing in the water that they use.
There's no pond on the property, for instance. Which was what I think was triggering Heather's concerns about density. So that's up to you guys if you wanna try to put a limit on that. I'm okay with 16 as a test case, but I'm open to the rest of the commission's recommendation.
How long are the CUPs good for?
Ever.
Forever,
Until they're revoked.
until they're
Unless they were to be revoked.
raising
Permanent
concern
situation,
by
yes, there's a problem.
enforcement.
Mhm.
Okay.
Or change of use.
Or trade.
Right.
But it's still all on the honor system.
Yeah, but all of them are. I mean, this is no
Right,
different
right.
than any other.
I'm just stating that as so I understand that it's always the honor system by the applicants of how they treat the
Always.
permit.
I mean, there's some things that have to get followed up in order for it to go through, obviously, with like making sure that the plans are approved with fire rescue and all those.
Okay.
But as far as ongoing, yes.
Right, it would just be a potential complaint and then whoever provides enforcement doing some kind of a check or.
Correct.
Do some kind of a check,
Compliance.
making a recommendation, having it come back to us.
Okay.
Ryan or David?
So did I hear Melissa correctly when she said that it's all or nothing regarding the 16-person occupancy?
No, she was saying that we can't just say 10 to 12, we have to put a max number. We have to pick one, we have to pick a number.
It has to be a set number, Ryan. It can be
Got it.
whatever number you choose.
Got it. Okay. I think
Any
from that
suggestions?
standpoint, I'm more leaning in the camp of less than 16. If there is a number that you guys are more comfortable with, I'm all ears.
And I don't know if this is maybe a question, but is there a difference in you said hotel lodging tax based on people or group or night?
It's nightly rental.
It's a nightly, it's off the amount of money.
Oh, okay.
It's taxed on the money.
Okay, got it. Okay. So that wouldn't affect by saying a limitation on the number of people, potential.
I mean, unless
The amount.
it could be that they're charging
They're
more per
charging
person.
more,
and then
right,
it
or
would-
less.
And then it
Okay,
would, but
got
like,
it.
that's not.
Okay.
Heather, you have to figure out how to guess out this one.
David, what are your thoughts on the number?
Well, I'm trying to think of an example where there's a structure where 16 people are staying in it. And I don't have the knowledge of the community as much as your experience, but I'm not coming up with an equivalent, something short of a hotel or a motel.
There are several 10th Mountain huts. Uncle Bud's hut comes to mind for me that have higher occupancies, but they're very large structures. They were designed as bunkhouses to hold a couple dozen people, potentially. I don't know about the yurts. I don't know what limitations are on the yurts either for the yurts that are up on Empire Valley or the yurts that are occupied down in Tennessee Pass. I don't have anything to reference that on, so I don't know what their maximum size is.
And Melissa, we didn't have a square footage of each of the units as they are now.
They were in the regular.
I don't remember seeing them.
The Peggy's is 200 square feet and the Rose is
750, yeah, 760.
Yeah.
One's 200 square feet and one is 750 square feet. It's a pretty good sized building.
Yeah, so I mean, I look at it from any kind of group camp, families, and how many people can fit in a given space comfortably, safely, You have no power, it's cold, whatever, or something in the middle of the night, that could potentially be dangerous or whatever, and you know, you see all the time in a room, even like this, maximum occupancy for the safety of people in a commercial setting. And you put too many people in one place, it could be bad. That's all I'm saying. And so, I mean, 750 is a lot bigger, and I think that's, I don't know what the backcountry, isn't it 600 for backcountry? I guess
It is
that's
now.
For backcountry structure. But you can still build up to 1,200, so I think.
Yeah, if there's multiple levels or something, like a loft or whatever, that's not included in that.
That's true.
Square footage or, I mean, so, you know, 15, yeah, it, like you said, it doesn't sound like a lot, but potentially for the smaller unit, I guess that would be more of my concern.
Well, and I don't know that there would ever be a situation where you would have 16 people in a 200 square foot unit.
Right.
But a 750 square foot unit is a decent sized place. That's
right.
20 by 35 feet. That's a pretty good
Yeah.
size floor space,
Yeah.
assuming everybody's sleeping in sleeping bags or.
Yeah, and I mean, I have a shed that's 10 by 20, it's 200 square feet.
Right.
And I wouldn't put more than two or three people in
That's a 4-person occupancy maybe, right? Sure.
Yeah.
But assuming a larger group is in the larger place and maybe the kids are in the smaller place, I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, you certainly wouldn't put 16 in a 200 square foot spot.
But you can't limit occupancy by structure, correct? Or could you?
No, but I think we only wanna focus on what we wanna limit this application to. I don't think
Right.
we wanna talk about it, attaching it to structure size.
Right,
Because we
I'm
have
saying
nothing in
so
the
far when
code
they
that
go,
way.
yeah, beyond is there a requirement commercially to say that only so many people can occupy a certain amount of space? I don't know that.
There are limits to what you are allowed to do in a short-term rental, but that's a completely different situation.
Right.
You know? Okay. So I think maybe that's what you're thinking there, but that is a different kind of a calculation. Number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, things like that. This is none of that. Unless somebody speaks up on the commission, I'm gonna recommend the approval is written at 16 people, but I'm happy to move it down to 12 if 2 or more commissioners would like to see that done. But speak now or forever hold your peace, please.
I would like to see it reduced to 12.
I would second that.
There you go. You wanna hand me that and I'll read?
Melissa, do I get a rebuttal?
No.
I did think you said that.
I thought she read in that we get a rebuttal.
No.
Starting the public hearing.
During the public hearing, okay.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? I don't mean to speak over you, or to do that before we do anything. Anybody else have anything?
On the planning commission, no.
No.
Bear with me while I find my spot again. Alright, Edwards moves the planning commission recommend approval of file number 25-42. Rose Hut and Peggy's Bunkhouse Group Camp CUP. An application for a group camp located at 2700 County Road 6B containing 10.3 acres to the Board of County Commissioners with the following conditions. Number 1, a permit from Public Works is required for the use of county road for parking. Number 2, the occupancy of the structures is limited to the terms of the septic variance of 180 days per year. Number 3, applicant shall revegetate any disturbed soils, developing a noxious weed plan with the assistance of the Colorado Division of Parks and Wildlife and the Lake County Conservation District. Number 4, the applicant shall consider best practices for complying with Colorado Parks and Wildlife recommendations in order to protect the important habitat surrounding the property. Number 5, applicant shall comply with all recommendations and requirements of Leadville Lake County Fire and Rescue. Number 6, there shall be facilities for trash located either inside each cabin or any outdoor trash receptacle shall be bear-proof. Number 7, all statements and representations made by the applicant in this application and in the hearing should be binding and considered as conditions of approval. Additionally, condition number 8, a best practices information sheet and/or packet will be provided to each renter or participant. Number 9, occupancy of the structures will be reduced from the originally suggested 16 to a maximum of 12 people. And further finding that as conditioned, the criteria outlined in section 3.6.1F of the Land Development Code have been met as evidenced in the staff report dated December 22nd, 2025.
Do I have a second on the motion?
I second.
Any discussion on the motion? Okay, we'll call Joey Edwards,
Yes?
Jason Rufo,
Yes.
David Drich,
Yes.
Ryan Hill,
Yes.
Heather Lind, yes. So that's just a recommendation for the CUP, so we'll go on to the site plan, which is file 25-43.
Edwards moves the planning commission recommend approval of file number 25-43 Rose Hut and Peggy's Bunkhouse Group Camp Site Plan, an application for a group camp located at 2700 County Road 6B containing 10.3 acres. I'll need that again, I think.
I don't think so for the site plan.
Okay. 10.3 acres to the Board of County Commissioners with the following conditions. Number 1, a permit for the Public Works is required for the use of county road for parking. Number 2, the occupancy of the structures is limited to the terms of the septic variance of 180 days per year. Number 3, applicant shall revegetate any disturbed soils, developing a noxious weed plan with the assistance of the Colorado Division of Parks and Wildlife and the Lake County Conservation District. Number 4, the applicant shall consider best practices for complying with CPW recommendations in order to protect the important habitat surrounding the property. Number 5, applicant shall comply with all recommendations and requirements of Leadville Lake County Fire and Rescue. Number 6, there should be facilities for trash located either inside of each cabin or any outdoor trash receptacles shall be bear-proof. Number 7, all statements and representations made by the applicant in the application and in the hearing should be binding and considered as conditions of approval. And further finding that as conditioned, the criteria outlined in section 5.2.27.1D of the Land Development Code have been met as evidenced in the staff report dated December 22nd, 2025.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Joey Edwards,
Yes?
Jason Rufo,
Yes.
Ryan Hill,
Yes.
David Drich,
Yes.
Heather Lind, yes. So now these are just our recommendations that go to the Board of County Commissioners at their next meeting.
It's not scheduled at the moment,
Okay,
but yeah.
and,
I mean, part of the process I looked at, looking at your code, is you're required to adopt written findings of fact, which I don't think has been happening in the past. So just making the motion is not adopting written findings of fact, so it really needs to come back before this board, or we need to get a better process in place for the code is probably what needs to
So
happen.
just as we did with the previous one today.
Yeah, so we'll have to, get you guys written findings of fact that you can look at and adopt and then pass those on.
And you want that done before it's recommended to the commission.
okay. So those will come to us, then it'll go to the Board of County Commissioners and they will decide whether to approve our recommendation or not. Any other, did we get any texts from Ann that we need to speak of? Okay. Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Edwards moves to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.